They looked like they were not exactly getting along. The beautiful part of getting along. Russia wants to defeat ISIS as badly as we do. If we had a relationship with Russia, wouldn't it be wonderful if we could work on it together?
Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump says he thinks Russian President Vladimir Putin wants to work with us when it comes to Syria, and he wants to do the same. Of course, he's getting a lot of criticism for that. This, as the United States and Russia have talks about a ceasefire, and apparently those talks now are hitting a make-or-break point, and there's a big question about what happens next. Tony Badran is a research fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, focusing on the Mideast, including Syria, Lebanon, and Iraq. Interesting to see Donald Trump talk about partnering with Russia, getting criticized for that. But at the same time, our administration is actively speaking with Russia about what to do in Syria. Square that for us, if you would, Tony.
Absolutely. Well, it's a great question, because that's what the administration's policy has been essentially since 2012.
So Donald Trump is essentially repeating the policy of President Obama, albeit perhaps using different terms.
Right. In a way, it's a continuation of the policy that we've been seeing for the last 4 years. And one of the things that the president is trying to do with this is essentially to lock in these preferences in Syria for whoever comes next in the White House. And this policy of essentially handing over the keys of Syria to the Russians has had a tremendous cost over the last 4 years, both in terms of the humanitarian toll, but also in terms of the strategic repercussions of it. All of a sudden now the Russians have a military base on the southern flank of NATO. All of a sudden all of our allies have to go make a trip to Moscow to petition Vladimir Putin for their interests, as opposed to talking to the United States.
So it sounds like you're saying this policy hasn't been working, it's not effective, and yet at the same time we hear from those that are proponents of it, this is the best choice out of no good choices in the region. What do you say to that?
Right. In a way, this is like the same playbook that the administration did with the Iran deal. You keep saying, well, this is the best choice that we have until you cut off all the other options, and then you say, well, we didn't really have any other choice. In the case of Syria, a senior official told CNN the other day, actually, that, well, yes, we are at a make-or-break point with these talks, but at the same time, really, there's no other option other than to work with Russia in Syria.
What is the other option? What would you advocate for?
Well, the United States has to, all of our allies in the region are ready and willing and have been asking the United States to show leadership on Syria, from Turkey to Jordan to Saudi Arabia, and the United States has instead preferred to hand it over to Russia.
It seems that we don't even know what American leadership would look like now, especially in that region and when it comes to Syria.
Well, if you listen to a lot of the former senior officials, from Bob Gates, Leon Panetta, David Petraeus, and many others, they've said that we have to start pushing back against the Russians.
What does that mean, though?
It means that, for instance, when you see now United States military being essentially bullied by the Iranian Navy on the one hand or Russian Air Force on the other hand, that has to be reversed to sort of reassert the primacy of the United States and to show allies that basically the United States is here, that you don't have to go to Vladimir Putin anymore.
I only have a short time, but what is the one thing you would tell either presidential candidate that needs to be part of their Syria policy to reverse course? Well,
Russia and Iran are on the other side. We don't share interests in Syria. I know the idea of fighting ISIS is one that's being often cited, but in reality, the Russians have no interest necessarily in doing that. That's been left to us. They are on the other side, and they are backing Assad. That's their interest. And to end the civil war in Syria sort of in a way advantageous to our interest and to those of our allies, there has to be a removal of the Assad regime.
So we have to go back to where we were at the very beginning.
Absolutely.
Tony, thank you very much. Much more to say on this topic. We appreciate it.